Hey guys, did you know that the median net worth of an American millennial is only 10,000 US dollars? And that includes the entire range of people aged between 22 and roughly 38. And did you know that the average net worth of a 30-year-old millennial in the year 2020 is actually negative if you take into consideration their student loans? That is ridiculous. What's up, guys? It's Hope here. So today I'm going to cover a topic that hits very close to home for a lot of millennials or younger people. And that is, it seems so difficult to save money and to increase our wealth, right? So a lot of us, when we were younger, we were sitting at the dinner table talking with our parents and stuff. Our parents would tell us stories like, when I was your age, blah, blah, blah. When I was 24, I was working as a high school teacher and I bought my first house, right? And then you're just like, what? How is it possible that you can afford to buy a house when you're 24 years old? For our generation, that seems impossible, right? I know for a fact, from my peers, my friends, and things like that, a lot of people are working and living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a lot of savings, they don't have investments, and they haven't really accumulated any sort of wealth in their lives, right? So why is it that it seems so difficult for us now to, everything seems so expensive, right? Houses are crazy expensive. If you live in a big city like San Francisco or London or New York, the rent is crazy expensive. Meanwhile, salaries don't seem that high, right? So how is it that people were able to get rich in what seems quite easily in previous generations, but for us now it just seems impossible, right? And of course, also a lot of people when you graduate, you're carrying thousands of dollars of student debt as well. So a big reason that the millennial generation is struggling so much actually is simply timing. We were unfortunate to become adults in a time when we just had a great financial crisis back in 2008. So for a lot of the older millennials, we graduated right after the great financial crisis. We entered a job market that had very few jobs, an economy that's really struggling. So it was very, very difficult for a lot of new graduates to get well-paid jobs and to just kickstart their professional lives, right? So for a lot of us, when we graduate, because we went to college or things like that, we're typically graduating with a negative net worth already, thanks to student loans, right? So we're already starting from behind the starting line, and then we have to play catch up right off the start. Meanwhile, at the same time, we actually had the greatest bull market in history over the past decade in terms of the stocks and real estate and all these things, all these assets, right? All these appreciating assets. But for most millennials, we had to sit on the sidelines because we simply didn't have the money to invest, right? So I think a lot of you watching this, you're probably thinking the same thing. You're like, oh, I wish I had money to invest. I just don't have money to invest. So that was a huge problem because we graduated into a bad economy. We were already struggling to get paid, to get jobs, and to pay off our student loans. Meanwhile, the stock market is going up like crazy, and then all the older generations with money, they're investing more and more into the stock market. So they're actually increasing and multiplying their wealth while we are sitting on the sidelines and just falling farther and farther behind, right? And of course, not to mention that the boomer generation, for example, the older generation, they own the majority of the assets, whether it's stocks or real estate around the world. And then at the same time, they're actually renting out their apartments that they own to people like us, right? Young people, we move to the city and we got to find somewhere to live. So we rent an apartment, which is probably owned by an older person who has a lot more money. So not only are we falling behind? Are we starting from behind? We're falling behind by missing out on the bull market. We're also paying rent every single month to people who already own a lot of wealth. So basically, we had all these forces and bad timing just stacked against us, right? They all converged. As a result, the millennial generation has really struggled to generate savings and to have money to invest and to get ahead, right? So obviously the situation we got ourselves into, or the situation we started in, was not ideal, right? But there's definitely some things that you can do on a personal level to change your fate, right? To get ahead of your peers who who maybe they don't realize this or they don't understand what they need to do, and then they'll just stay at the same place forever, right? So one of the biggest things, one of the biggest habits you can change, and one of the biggest mindsets I would say you can change is to have the mindset of delayed gratification, right? So I would say that's the biggest problem we have as a millennial generation or as the social media generation is, we are exposed to so many options and so many flashy things thanks to social media, right? You go on Instagram, you see pictures of hot girls with really nice bodies. You see people chilling at like beaches in paradise. You see people sitting on yachts, or people with fancy luxury clothing or bags, whatever you're into, right? You see all these people living their good lives, and then you get a little bit envious. You're like, oh, I want to do the same thing. I want to travel to these exotic locations, and I want to backpack around the world for a year, take these awesome pictures, sit on the beach, whatever. Right? So then what you end up doing is you spend all your money, all your savings on experiences, on living in the moment. And as a result, you don't really set anything aside for the future, right? So then it makes it very, very difficult to catch up, never mind getting ahead. But don't get me wrong, I am not saying that you shouldn't enjoy life, because myself, for example, I am all for living life, right? I've done my own share of traveling. I've been to more than 30 countries. I love going to a good party, or going to exotic places. But I always try to practice a level of discipline where I'm setting a certain amount of money aside every month for my income. I'm saving every month, then I'm investing this money, however I can, whether it's by investing in stocks, cryptocurrencies, or by investing it in myself, right? Or my businesses. So I think the key is to strike that balance. Of course, especially if you're young, you're in your 20s, you want to have fun, you want to enjoy life, you want to get access to new experiences, which is also important for self-growth. So I'm not saying you should stop doing that, but you should always have a level of discipline where you understand, okay, I need to be disciplined in saving money, and I need to always have a certain amount that I set aside each month that I can invest towards my future, right? And also at the same time, you should always be thinking about how you can generate income every month, right? I see people just like taking a year off to travel the world, taking a gap year or whatever. If your parents give you money, then it's fine. It's not a problem. But I've actually been guilty of that. I've taken a lot of time off just traveling and whatever, not really consistently generating income, and that's really bad because you fall behind very easily. So you should always be thinking about how you can generate income, whether that's a job or starting your own business, or nowadays, we're very fortunate to live in an era where everything is done online, digitally, right? So now we see the birth of this entirely new gig economy. Basically, anyone can freelance, right? So that's why you see a lot of people who live in Chiang Mai or in Bali, and they work from the beach. They're either running an online business, or they are working online as freelancers. They're doing graphic design or translation or copywriting or whatever, right? So that's a really huge benefit that we have in our generation. Even though the place we started was not ideal, like we were not born into the best timing in terms of the macroeconomic cycles, but we have this awesome tool called the internet, where we basically have the power to learn any skill, to access any bit of knowledge or information that we want just by Googling, right? So that's huge, which means that it's really important for all of us to invest in ourselves, to always be learning, improving, learning new skills, learning new knowledge, and understanding how things work, because then we can leverage that to benefit ourselves, right? So for example, if you are good at languages, and in your spare time you can just go online, you can go onto Upwork or whatever, and you can be a freelance translator or transcriber, and you can make a decent amount of side income. You can make income from a side hustle like that, right? And that's all going to accumulate over time if you invest your money and compound things. So again, in summary, the situation we were put into for our generation was not ideal. We started from behind the starting line in the race of life, per se, financially. But it's important to recognize that, not to cry about it or complain or blame the government, blame society or whatever. You have to take control of your life, and you have to make the changes in your mindset and how you spend your time, right? To try to get even and then get ahead. And the best place to start is to start by practicing delaying gratification, to make more money, to save more money, and to invest in your future.